Shalom Nitzavim Vayelech, Tavshin Zayin, a week before Rosh Hashanah, the last Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. As we have spoken about in past years, that even though the year flies by, and many times we begin to think to ourselves that we had so many plans for this year, we had so many things we wanted to accomplish, we had so many things we wanted to do, so many things we were meaning to learn. When it comes near the end of the year, the idea is that it's not time to get down. We don't get down on ourselves, and we know that until the last Shabbos, until the last week, until the last day of the year, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, first of all, is waiting for us to do tshuva, and besides doing tshuva, He's waiting for us to decide that next year we're going to try harder, and we're going to be better. And there are many aspects of what we want to do during the year. There are things that we want to do in action, and there are other things that we want to do in our minds, and there are things that we want to make sure that we think about, and the thoughts in our minds are thoughts that are appropriate for Bnei Yisrael. So the Pasuk tells us in this week's Parsha, Hanistarois Lashem Alekeinu, those things that are hidden, those are for Hashem. V'haniglois, those that are exposed, that are out there, Lanu Levonenu Ad Olam La'asois Es Kol Divrei HaTorah Hazois. That's a Pasuk in this week's Parsha, in Parshas Nitzavim. And really the Parshiyos that we read this week are full of lessons for this time of the year. And it's for a time of the year that we look and we really try to reach inward, where we at least should be making our best effort to slow down and actually start thinking about what we're doing and the things that we want to do. To think about not just the actions that we take, to think about, like we mentioned at the beginning of this year, the things that we are going to think about and how our minds work. And then the Nesivos Shalom brings from the Torah Avos that there really is a way to work on the thoughts that enter our mind. And that is through a pasuk, the pasuk that we just mentioned in our parsha, the pasuk that we said, Hanistarois. The thoughts in our mind are really called nistarois, which are hidden things. Most people on the street, I guess everybody knows that you can't actually read what's inside a person's mind. That is something which we call hidden. And those are the things which are hanistarois, they're hidden to Lashem Alekeinu. They're only known to Hashem. And the way that a person works on their mind to make their mind be the way it should be is through that pasuk. V'haniglois lanu ulevanenu ad olam la'asois es kol divrei haTorah hazois. That we want to do as many good things as we can. The way to work on your mind is that you become a different person. And a different person, a better person, thinks in a different way and thinks in a better way. By actually doing as much good and as much mitzvahs as you can, you become a person that does a lot of good. La'asois es kol divrei haTorah hazois. You're a person who does. And that is how you change the nistarois, the things that go on in your mind. And really, we know, we say on Shabbos and Yontif, Kadishenu b'mitzvosecha. How does a person become more holy? That is through b'mitzvosecha, by doing mitzvahs. Your actions have a tremendous bearing on your mind. Asher kidishanu, how? B'mitzvosav. By doing mitzvahs, we become different people. We become improved people. We become more holy people. And that is what the Torah is telling us. The Pasuk is telling us. How do we change the nistarois, which now are only Lashem Alekeinu? You know how we change the way our mind works? La'asois es kol divrei haTorah hazois. Resolve this year to become a person that is going to constantly be doing good things. Be looking to do good things. And through being mekayim that, we'll reach the nistarois, which are Lashem Alekeinu, and that is the thoughts in our mind. And with this Yisai, it says in the Nesivos Shalom, we can explain a seeming contradiction in the Torah. The Pasuk says in Parshas Eikev, Umaltem es orlas levavachem The Torah is telling us that we have an obligation to puncture and to penetrate the layers of our heart, the things that divide us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the things that are covering our heart, which is yearning to serve Hashem. We are supposed to go ahead and umaltem es orlas levavchem. You have an obligation to penetrate those layers. And that's what the Torah tells us. You have work to do, and if you see that there are layers of your heart that are being covered, then you have to go ahead and work on getting through those layers. But in our parsha, though, it seems that it's a little bit different. In our parsha, in this parsha Shavua, the Torah tells us, Umol Hashem alekecha es levavcha v'es levav zarecha, and li'ahavo es Hashem alekecha b'chol levavcha. That Hashem is going to go ahead, and Hashem is going to be the one to take off those layers of your heart in order to bring you to Avos Hashem. So if it's Hashem doing the work, what about the pasuk in the Torah in Parshas Eikev that says Umaltem, that you have a mitzvah to go ahead and do that, that you are supposed to do that? Who's doing the work over here? Is it HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or is it us? So Nesivos Shalom answers in a very, very interesting way, answers a beautiful teretz. And he says like this, Rashi tells us that Orlas Levavchem is referring to the deficiencies we develop in our hearts from the negative things that we do. When a person does things that are negative, so we develop certain innate deficiencies as a person. And we have a mitzvah in the Torah to get to work to rectify those things that, like it says in Parshas Eikev, we have a mitzvah then to rectify those things. Umaltem es orlas levavchem. That's straight out. You have things, your heart becomes covered. You have certain deficiencies, orlas levavchem, from the things that we do. You have a job to go ahead and straighten those things out. You have to, so to speak, peel back those layers of your heart. But the pasuk in our parsha of Umol Hashem alekecha levav, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to go ahead and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be the one to do it, that is the next level. After you go ahead and do the work that you have to do. The end of that pasuk says, Li'avos Hashem alekecha. So Umol Hashem alekecha is already the special siyata d'shmaya that we need. Yes, first you have to do the work. You have to do the work to straighten out the things that you may have done during the year. But to get to the madrega of Avos Hashem, we could stop doing the bad things that we do. We could take away, we could do tshuva on the negative things, but you don't necessarily, you still have a ways to get until you get to the level of loving Hashem. You need a lot of siyata d'shmaya for that. As we know in the Rambam tells us what a great madrega Avos Hashem is. That doesn't come by just not being a negative person. That doesn't come by just straightening out the things that you do. To love Hashem, for Avos Hashem, you need Umol Hashem alekecha, what the pasuk in our parsha, that you need to be zoicha to siyata d'shmaya from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You do what you can. And once you do what you can, you're zoicha to the pasuk of Umol Hashem alekecha. Once we do, the Torah is telling us, a lesson here says in Nesivos Shalom, that we can really only do what we could do. But just know that if you do what's incumbent on you to accomplish, you could be zoicha to tremendous siyata d'shmaya. Imagine, Umol Hashem alekecha, Hashem himself is going to be the one to come and help you out. So, just like in our pasuk of Nistoros, the hidden things, which are Lashem Elokeinu, that you'll only get there with the help of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are certain things that without the help of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we won't be able to do it. But how do we go ahead and do it? That is, V'haniglois lanu u'levanenu la'asois es kol divrei ha'Torah hazois. In order to get to the Nistoros, in order to get to being close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you need to know la'asois es kol divrei ha'Torah hazois. You can't sit on a chair. You can't sit on your hands. You can't come now to Elul and Yom Noraim and say that I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to leave it up to Hashem. Hashem loves you. Hashem wants to help you out. But you need to begin. You need to start. And sometimes we don't even know what we need to do. It's nistoros. It's very hidden. But if we turn to Hashem and we say, Hashem, I'm doing what I know, I'm doing what I could do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will turn to you and you'll have a tremendous amount of Siyata Dishmaya. Let us work on that this year, and let us understand that we're coming to the end of Elul, and Rosh Hashanah is going to be next week. We need to know that Hashem is waiting, Umol Hashem Alikecha. Hashem is waiting to come and give us tremendous Siyata Dishmaya and do work for us. But it's incumbent upon the fact that we know that we ourselves have to at least step into the batter's box. You have to start swinging. You have to start doing some work, and you'll be zeicher to tremendous siyata d'shmaya. So things are very hidden this time of year. We don't understand everything about Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Nistoros Hashem Alekei. They're very, very hidden. But one thing we know that we have to do is that we have to start working, and Hashem will give us the siyata d'shmaya. Everybody should be zeicher through this work that we do for you and your families and all those around you, the tremendous hatzlacha this year. Everyone should be zeicher to a ksiva, v'chasima toiva, and a good gevench yar.